Hello you lovely people and welcome. Today we're going to be cold starting the Miltech simulation / Maryadi's MV-22 Bravo Osprey. That's a bit of a mouthful. Right, so when you first get into the aircraft it will not look like this. I have basically gone in and set it up as if it's just been pulled out of the hangar. So if you want to set up the blade fold wing stow and save the flight and then come back in, every time you load that flight it should be set up like this if you want to do the proper cold start. But with that I will start it from pulled out the hangar to engine start, and then I'll get it up in the air. So let's jump in the cockpit. So the first thing we need is battery power. Battery is located at the top left here on the overhead panel. So push this button here to switch it on. Then we need the APU switched on, so if we rotate that to run, get the light there, twist it again to engage it. Okay, so now we have auxiliary power unit up and running. Next thing we're going to do is turn on all 5 screens. So depending on what time of the day or night it is, you can set what how bright you want it. Okay, and now we're going to need some lights. You can set the internal lights, which are up here. You've got co-pilot, pilot, you've got panel floodlights here, which will show you different parts of the aircraft that are lit up. And close that off, and then we've got overhead, which will light all the labelling up. And we'll come down for external lighting. It's all done via this central display here, and we want the light selection, so the LTS button here, and you can see it changes everything down the side. I won't be using this scratch pad keyboard because every time I try and get to certain buttons it just goes straight onto throttle and gets awkward, so everything will be done via this one. So let's go through the options here. Master control, this will be your last switch to put on after you've activated the lights that you want. So we've got top strobe, we can have that in norm or in NVG mode depending if you're flying at night. Strobe on the bottom. Position lights, we can have both, just nacelles or tail. I'll keep it on both. Position lights, we can have bright or dim. I'm going to keep them bright. We can also have the position lights flashing or steady. I'm going to keep them steady. There is a second menu here where we can do the tip lights on the propellers. We can have them on the top or the bottom, and then there's formation light levels. I've not been able to get that to work. And last one down here is the landing light, and that will be our last light to switch on before we start taxiing. So if we go back to menu 1, and just to show you that I've activated these but not the master control, we'll go outside. As you can see, there are no lights on the nacelles and no strobes flashing or anything like that. Now if we come down to master control, hit that, go back outside, you can see we now have strobes, we have position lights on, I've got the strobe going up here as well. Okay, so that's all the lights going. Now that we've done that, we're going to quickly zero out the barometric altimeter. I'll show you how to do that. So we press CDU and we come back to our comms. You've got our nav radio here for VOR or ILS, our TACAN here, which I don't believe is working at the moment, barometric pressure to change, we'll zero out. At the moment we're at minus 270, and if we go down to the bottom here we can set our radar altimeter and also our transponder code. Now we're going to change this. I'm going to select 29.58, enter. Okay, and that's pretty much zeroed it out. You must remember the decimal. If you don't put the decimal in, it will put in 3152, I think it was last time I tried it. I'm not going to do it now, but yeah, 2958. We are now pretty much at field elevation. Okay, so if we press CDU again, we've got MGRS, system time, GPS time update, magnetic or true north, system datum, aircraft initial, and our V limit, vertical speed limit. Push that again, we go back. Now I'm going to get the aircraft into flight ready, so to do that we need to go into, if we could start off on nav, go to system, blade fold wing stow. We're going to take off the rotor brake. We're going to turn off rotor lock, and we're going to go to flight ready. And this will do everything automatically without any issues. So basically the sound you can hear at the moment is the flap being raised. So everything will be done. The computer will take care of all of that. So while that's doing that, I'm going to quickly show you through the other systems that you can change. So if we click stat, and this will give us our other options. So if we want to do a simulated air-to-air refueling, we can use the probe extension there. Come down, we've got our flight control surfaces or systems. This gives us our hydraulics, reading 0 at the moment because there is no engine startup at the moment. And we can go down to engines here, obviously nothing running at the moment. Come down to ice, this is where all our anti-icing options are. So I'm going to switch on all modes, and then we've got wing override, rotor override, and then de-ice menu. It doesn't really do anything at the moment. And then the last one, we've got our electrical supplies, and obviously the generators aren't running because the engines aren't on. So if we go back to fuel, this is our usable fuel. We've got 5,865 pounds on board. Just make sure our blades, they're almost ready. Okay, and dropping the flaps now. Just a word of warning, the master alert here will stay like that. Click CDU. You need to make sure you've bound the key bind for flat 4, cal flat 4 to operate the nacelles. We're going to clear that by clicking up and down. That will go. Left engine failure, right engine failure, RPM low. So once the engines will start up, everything will disappear apart from RPM low. The master alert will stay flashing until you throttle up, and then that will bring the hydraulic levels on 1 and 2 up to normal, and then the alert will disappear. So with that, let's actually start the engines. So back up to the top here, and we've got left engine selected in the top here. Come to the FADEC. I'm going to select this left lever, and we're going to put it into start. So 1, 2. If we look, rotors are spinning. Both of them will spin. Don't get confused by that. If you don't know much about the Osprey, the engines are connected by a gearbox so that there's a redundancy. If one engine fails, both props can be run on one engine to perform emergency landings instead of going wildly out of control and crashing. So don't get confused by that and think that you've started the engines, both of the engines at the same time, because you haven't. Okay, RPMs will settle at 68, which they have. Okay, and we're going to select fly. Come up here. Now we're going to select the right engine. Again, we're going to come through crank to start. Okay, and you'll hear the engine starting. You can see the RPMs are starting to build. Just waiting for everything to come to life. And you see the hydraulic levels have gone up slightly, but they're still in the red. Okay, so all generators are on now. So we're producing our own electricity. Just wait for the RPMs to settle at 68, 70. Okay, so we're at 68%, and now we can flick that into fly, and we can come up here and we can now disengage the APU and twist that to stop. Okay, you can hear it spooling down. Okay, and the last thing we want to do is to close our doors. So come up here, I'm going to close the ramp and the side door. Okay, and next we will tilt the rotors to around 75 degrees and get ready to taxi. Come back into the light menu, go to menu 2, put on the landing light, back into menu 1, go back into the CDU, and just make sure all our systems are up and running again. Go into stat, so you can see our fuel is still good. Come down to the flight control systems, you can see the hydraulics have gone up, the temperature of the hydraulic fluid. Moving the surfaces won't really do anything in this mode. If we go down to engine, you can see now that engines are up and running, all the temperatures are within normal limits, and if we raise it slightly, the main NR number, once that's in the green, you'll see that it's now cleared all the faults. But I'm going to put that back down into idle just to show you what that does. We'll come back into the ICE menu. Again, it's just as it was, how we left it, and then into the electricity section. You can see generators are up and running, everything's in the green, and we're good to go. Okay, so put that back into the CDU. Okay, so with that we can now taxi to the end of the runway. Just going to change this. If you want to change, you can have moving map, or you can have forward looking infrared, whatever your preference is, or you can have it blank. I like to have moving map. Range usually around about 20 nautical miles, and yeah, that's good to go. So with that, let's take the parking brake off. Let's have a quick look outside at the aircraft before we move, and you can see we've got our landing lights on now, reflecting off the floor. Nacelles are tilted to 75 degrees, so we're ready to taxi, and just check the control surfaces and everything's moving. One thing also to note is that flaps will be in auto, but there are the manual options if auto fails, or if you feel like you want to do that yourself, but the computer will control all of that with speed. So we can now taxi out. Just to be wary that the aircraft will start taxiing pretty quick. Try and keep the speed below 20 knots, and just keep a handle on it, because it will get away from you if you're not careful. and we're just going to go straight out. Okay, and as we're within limits with the weight of fuel, we need to be under 21,000, 2,000. No, maybe not. Well, anyway, I'll give it a try. Going to try a vertical takeoff. So I'm going to set it up to 90 degrees. Hold the brakes on. Now you will need to throttle up gradually and wait for it to bite. If you go a bit gung-ho and straight into full, the thing will just go mad. So we're going to throttle up slowly. Put that back into CDU so that we can keep an eye on our RPMs there. You don't want to overstress the engines or cause any issues. Okay, it'll bite in a minute. There we go. Nice gradual lift off. I'm going to keep it in the hover for a second. Before we go up. Put the gear up. Okay, we're going to throttle up ever so slightly, tilt the nose down, get some speed up before we transition. Transition to flight will come in another video, as this one has dragged on long enough for a cold start tutorial. But if you got this far, thank you very much, and as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.